In a quiet village, surrounded by thick forests and winding rivers, there lived a woman named Diana. She was kind, gentle, and loved by many, but beneath her calm smile lay a heart torn apart by grief. For every child Diana gave birth to, none lived past their first year. One by one, like candles blown out by the wind, they vanished from her arms into silence. The people of the village whispered about curses. They murmured about the spirits, but no one understood the pain Diana carried. Her husband Peter tried to console her. He built a tiny grave beside their hut for each lost child. He watched her stare at them, eyes dry, no more tears left to cry. Until one day, something in Diana broke. It was the festival of New Dawn, a time when the village gathered to celebrate newborns and pray for their long lives. Mama Efe, a proud and loving mother, had just given birth to a baby girl named Tina. Her cries rang out like music through the celebration. The whole village came. There was drumming, dancing, laughter, and in the middle of the joy, Diana watched, quiet, distant. She had visited the new baby, as all women did, bringing a basket of yams. She kissed Tina's forehead and smiled softly, her hands lingering just a moment too long. And then, while the others danced and toasted palm wine, Tina disappeared. The village turned upside down. People searched the rivers, the bushes, the farmlands. Cries of, "Where is Tina?" echoed from hut to hut. Mama Efe fell to her knees, wailing, clutching the empty cloth where her baby once lay. The elders called for prayers. They beat drums of war, but Tina was gone. No one saw a thing. What they didn't know was that Diana had taken her. She'd hidden Tina in her fruit basket beneath a pile of ripe oranges and plantains. Her heart raced as she and Peter fled that night, moving through the forest like shadows. They went far away to a village where no one knew their names. And there, Diana raised Tina as her own. Years passed. Tina grew into a joyful, radiant child. She loved her mother dearly and called her Mama Diana with pride. Peter worked as a carpenter, and though guilt weighed heavy on him, he played the role of father with silent devotion. But Diana never told Tina the truth. Each year, on the day of the New Dawn festival, Diana would fall quiet. She'd light a small candle and stare at it, whispering prayers Tina never understood. Tina would ask, "Mama, why are you sad today?" And Diana would only smile, brushing her braids gently. "Because I once lost something, and then God gave me you." Back in the village, Mama Efe never gave up hope. She kept Tina's old bracelet. She never moved from the hut where Tina was born. Each year on the festival day, she set out a plate of food, saying, "One day my Tina will come home." Many thought she'd gone mad. Others just pitied her, but in her heart, Mama Efe knew. Then, one day, 20 years later, Diana fell ill. She grew thin and weak. The healer shook his head. "Prepare her heart," he said. "She doesn't have many sunsets left." On a hot afternoon, as the sun bled orange into the sky, Diana called Tina close. She took her hand, trembling. "My daughter, I have something to tell you." Tina leaned in, confused. "You are not mine," Diana whispered, her eyes heavy with tears. I took you when you were a baby. You belong to another woman. Her name is Mama Efe, and she lives in the village of your birth." Tina's world shattered. She wept, cried, screamed. "Why, Mama? Why did you take me?" Diana's voice was barely a breath now. "Because I had no child left, and you were so small, so beautiful. I thought maybe God had put you there for me." Peter sat at the corner of the hut, eyes lowered, unable to speak. Tina clutched her chest, her life, her name, her home, all of it suddenly uncertain. But Diana's last words echoed in her ears. Go, my child, find her, tell her the truth. The morning after Diana took her last breath, Tina stood at the edge of the forest, staring into the distance. Her heart pounded like a drum. Everything she had known, every bedtime story, every lullaby, every whispered prayer from Diana, felt like a lie, but it was also love. Love twisted in desperation, love born from pain, a stolen love. She packed a small bag, some food, a flask of water, and the only thing Diana left behind, a faded bracelet with red beads and a tiny carved charm. Peter stood beside her, his face sunken with sorrow. I'm sorry, he said quietly, placing a hand on her shoulder. We were wrong, but we loved you. Tina nodded, eyes glassy. I believe you, Papa, but I need to find out who I really am. And with that, she turned and walked away. The journey was long, through dusty paths, past thick woods, and unfamiliar lands. Tina moved like a ghost from village to village, asking questions. Do you know Mama Efe? She asked a trader. Have you heard of a child stolen during a festival? She asked an old woman. Most shook their heads. Some pointed vaguely east. A few remembered, just faint whispers. Yes, one farmer said. There was a woman who wailed for days, never stopped looking. They said her baby vanished during the dancing. Tina followed the riverbank, then the tall palm trees, then a crooked hill, and one evening, just as the sun dipped low behind the horizon, she saw it. A quiet village nestled between two tall hills, smoke curling gently from the roofs of mud huts. She had never been there before, but something in her heart stirred. It felt like home. She stepped into the village. The children stopped their games and stared. A few ran to get their mothers. An elder woman with silver streaks in her braids approached. Her face was lined with age, her hands firm. You are not from here, she said gently. What brings you, girl? Tina hesitated, then held up the bracelet. I'm looking for a woman named Mama Efe, she whispered. The elder's eyes widened. She turned slowly and pointed to a small hut with faded clay walls and a tree growing beside it. She's there. But be gentle. Time has been hard on her. Tina walked slowly toward the hut. Her steps grew heavier. Her heart threatened to leap out of her chest. Outside the hut sat a woman on a stool, her back bent, her hands weaving palm fibers into a mat. Mama Efe. Her hair was gray now, her face older, but her eyes were the same ones Tina had seen in her dreams. Tina stood in silence. Her lips trembled. Mama Efe. The woman looked up, blinking. Yes? Tina took a shaky breath and knelt before her. She held out the bracelet. I think I'm your daughter. Time stopped. Mama Efe stared. Her hands trembled. She reached out slowly, her fingers brushing the beads. The world seemed to hold its breath. And then a scream, a cry, not of fear, but of recognition. She cupped Tina's face with both hands. Her body shook with sobs. My baby, my Tina, my baby girl. She pulled her close, rocking her back and forth, tears pouring freely. Villagers gathered around, watching the reunion in stunned silence. One whispered, could it be? After all these years? Another said, she's back. Tina is back. Mama Efe wept into Tina's hair. I never stopped looking, never stopped praying. I knew you would come home one day. Tina cried too. I didn't know until she told me. Mama Diana, she raised me, but she wasn't my mother. Mama Efe looked up. Her face was not angry, only full of pain. Tell me everything, my child. And there, under the moonlight, Tina told the story of the fruit basket, of the running, of the years spent in another village, of Diana's love and her secret. Mama Efe listened quietly, her tears falling again. "She stole you from me," she said, voice cracked, "but she raised you with love. For that, I cannot hate her." They held each other as the wind whispered through the trees. The villagers lit torches and danced that night, not for a festival, but for the return of the lost daughter. The drummers beat their hands raw. The women sang praises, and Mama Efe smiled for the first time in 20 years. For the first time in her life, Tina felt whole. She walked through the village, hand in hand with Mama Efe, watching as people stared with a mix of awe, curiosity, and disbelief. Some called her a miracle, others a ghost returned, and some weren't so quick to forgive. A few days after the reunion, the village council gathered. Elders in patterned robes sat beneath the great baobab tree, their faces serious. An elder woman spoke first. "If this is truly Tina, the one who was taken 20 years ago, then let her prove it." Tina stood, nervous but steady. She showed them the bracelet. Gasps rippled through the crowd. "That bracelet was made by Mama Efe's husband before he died," one of the women said. "And the mark, I remember it. She had it when she was born." Mama Efe stepped forward, her eyes proud. "This is my daughter, I have no doubt." Another elder stroked his chin. "Then the one who took her must be named." Tina hesitated. Her name was Diana. The council murmured. One elder's face darkened. "I remember Diana. She left suddenly with her husband. They never returned." Tina bowed her head. "She died a few weeks ago. Before she passed, she told me the truth." The elders exchanged looks. One finally nodded. "The matter is painful, but we must not hold hatred in our hearts. What was lost has been found." Mama Efe added quietly, "I have mourned long enough. I choose healing." And just like that, the village chose peace. In the weeks that followed, Tina tried to settle into her new life. She walked the farms with Mama Efe, fetched water with the village girls, and listened to stories of her father, a kind man who died heartbroken, never knowing what happened to his baby girl. Every night, Mama Efe cooked her favorite meals, yam pottage, pepper soup, roasted maize, and sang lullabies Tina never heard before, yet somehow remembered in her bones. It was beautiful, but not easy. Tina often sat outside the hut at night, staring at the moon. Her heart felt stretched between the mother who raised her and the one who gave her life. One evening, a messenger arrived. He wore dusty sandals and carried a satchel over his back. "Are you Tina?" he asked, panting. "Yes," she replied, standing. He handed her a small folded letter sealed with palm wax. "It's from Peter." Tina's hands trembled as she opened it. Inside, the words were shaky but heartfelt. "My dear daughter, I do not know how to begin, except to say I miss you. The house is empty now, and so is my heart. Your mother made a terrible mistake, but she loved you fiercely. I hope one day you can forgive us completely. Wherever you choose to be, I want you to know you are always loved. Papa Peter." Tears blurred her vision. She folded the letter and held it close. Mama Efe found her sitting by the riverbank later that night. "Was it from him?" she asked. Tina nodded. "Yes, he's alone now." Mama Efe sighed and sat beside her. "Do you miss them?" she asked. "I do," Tina whispered, "but I also feel like I belong here, with you." Mama Efe smiled gently. "You don't have to choose one love over the other. Your heart is big enough for both." They sat in silence, listening to the water ripple. "Do you ever hate her?" Tina asked suddenly. Mama Efe paused, then shook her head slowly. "No, I pitied her. I envied her too. Sometimes, because she had you. But hate?" She looked at her daughter. "I couldn't carry that. It would have broken me." The next day, the village held a special Thanksgiving. Tina, dressed in vibrant Ankara cloth with golden patterns, stood beside Mama Efe as the drummers beat their rhythms and children danced in circles. An elder poured palm wine onto the earth and raised a hand. "We thank the gods," he said, "for restoring what was lost." The people echoed, "Ace, Ace." Tina's smile was soft. A tear slid down her cheek. She wasn't the same girl who left her old village weeks ago. She was stronger, wiser, and for the first time in her life, at peace. The air was dry as Tina approached the old village she had once called home. Her feet remembered every path, the crooked wooden fence, the mango tree near the well, the small round hut with smoke curling from its thatched roof, Peter's house. She paused at the doorway, her heart pounding. Then she knocked. The door creaked open slowly. Peter stood there, older than she remembered. His beard had grown grayer, his back more hunched, but his eyes, oh, those eyes, still held the same warmth. He stared for a moment, then whispered, "Tina." She smiled. "Hi, Papa." He didn't wait. He pulled her into a tight embrace. They stood like that for a long time, both crying quietly. "I wasn't sure you'd come," Peter said, voice cracking. "I had to," Tina replied. "I needed to see you, to hear the full story." Peter nodded and led her inside. The hut was simple, neat, quiet, filled with memories. On a small wooden shelf sat an old cloth doll and a faded baby shoe. "I kept those," he said softly, "from the day Diana brought you home." They sat by the hearth as Peter spoke. "She wasn't always like that, your mother. Diana was gentle, full of joy. But after our first baby died, something inside her broke. She cried every night, blamed herself, me, even God." He paused, staring into the fire. "Then the second one died too, and the third." His voice trembled. She would hold them, sing to them, knowing they wouldn't survive past their first birthday. Tina swallowed hard. "And then, you came." Peter nodded slowly. "When she saw you in your mother's arms at the festival, something snapped. She told me later it was like God had placed you there, like you were meant to be hers." Tina's eyes filled with tears. "But I wasn't." "No," Peter whispered. "You weren't, but we were too lost in grief to see the truth." He reached under a small box and pulled out a letter. "I found this after she died," he said. "She wrote it for you." Tina unfolded the paper, hands shaking. The handwriting was soft and flowing. "My dearest Tina, if you're reading this, then you know the truth. I didn't carry you in my womb, but I carried you in my arms, in my heart, in my soul. I stole you. Yes, I sinned. I tried to convince myself it was fate, but deep inside, I always feared the day you'd leave me. I only wanted to love a child who wouldn't leave me, who wouldn't die in my arms again. And you gave me that. You gave me 20 years I never thought I'd have. Forgive me if you can. Love always, Mama Diana." Tina couldn't stop the tears. They spilled freely, soaking the letter. Peter placed a hand over hers. She truly loved you, even in her brokenness. Tina nodded. "I know. I loved her too, and I always will." They sat in silence, both wrapped in grief and grace. Before leaving, Tina walked to Diana's grave behind the hut. It was marked by a carved wooden stone with simple words, "Beloved wife, forever in peace." Tina knelt beside it. "I forgive you," she whispered. "Thank you for loving me, even though it wasn't your right." She placed a single hibiscus flower on the grave and stood. When she returned to her mother's village days later, Mama Efe was waiting. "Did you find what you needed?" she asked gently. Tina nodded. I did. And then she took her mother's hands and smiled. I want to build something here. A school for girls, a place where no woman will ever feel like she has to steal to feel whole. Mama Efe's eyes filled with pride. That is a legacy. The village came alive with hope. Together, they cleared land, built walls, painted classrooms in bright colors, and at the entrance of the new school, Tina placed a plaque that read, "In memory of two mothers, one who gave me life, one who gave me love." The morning of the school's grand opening, the village stirred before dawn. Women tied colorful gel on their heads, children ran barefoot with excitement, and men rolled out drums and mats for the feast to come. The air was thick with the smell of jollof rice, roasted plantains, and spices from every corner of the market, and in the heart of it all stood Tina, radiant in a yellow and blue Ankara dress, her hair braided with golden beads, a soft scarf wrapped around her shoulders. Beside her stood Mama Efe, proud, steady, glowing. The school stood tall behind them, House of Light Girls Academy, painted in warm earth tones and decorated with carved wooden panels. Tina stepped up to the small platform built of bamboo poles and palm fronds. A hush fell over the crowd. She held the microphone with steady hands. 20 years ago, a tragedy tore two families apart. One mother wept because she lost her baby. Another mother wept because she could never keep one alive. I was caught between both storms, but love rescued me. She paused, her voice thick with emotion. Today, we open this school not in memory of sorrow, but in celebration of healing. No girl should grow up feeling less. No woman should believe her worth is tied only to her womb. Every life matters. Every story matters. A wave of applause rose, some crying, others standing to clap. Even the elders wiped their eyes. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to hit that like button. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and tell us what part moved you the most. And if you want more powerful African stories like this one, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Thank you for watching, and remember, every secret has its time to be revealed.